So as was mentioned in a previous slide presentation, research and development is huge in the pharmaceutical industry. In most of these companies, even the large ones, 1 or 2 drugs can generate a large portion of the revenue coming into that company. Because of this, competition to develop the products through research and development is intense, is huge, and there's a lot of competition. And so research and development really drives the competition within the industry. It has to be productive in order for them to be, the company to thrive, to succeed. The cost of developing a drug, and this is a pretty big range, can go from anywhere from $150 million to $1.5 billion. And the process can take up to 10 years. The patent time when it comes to pharmaceuticals is 20 years. And that patent time can be a little deceiving. You might think, wow, the pharmaceutical company can be the only one to sell that type of product for 20 years. That's a long time. In reality, though, when you think about it, if it's taking them 10 years to develop it, right, on average, they only get 10 years of patent protection. And the reason why is because when it comes to patents, you apply for that patent when the drug is invented, not as it goes through the testing, which we'll talk about in a minute. The reason why it's done then is because, all right, they can invent and then have someone walk out the door with it, take them next door to a competing company, sell it, and make a lot of money. And so by patenting it right away, it allows them to have control over it through the whole process. In 2001, 17.7% of all sales went towards research and development. All right, so that's almost 18% of all revenue went towards research and development. That's really high. On average, a non-pharmaceutical company, research and development is about 4%. So it's much higher than other industries. Let's look at the steps in the process here. So we're going to kind of go through this step by step here. Let me make it a little bit bigger. So we have the process of getting a new drug onto the market. The first step is the discovery. This is when natural chemical compounds with some desired properties are isolated or some new compound is created. It's immediately patented once they come up with this. So now we're going to look at for every 5,000 to 10,000 compounds. Now, once that happens, it goes into the preclinical phase. And in the preclinical, that's going to be your in the lab, animal testing, and it can take up to 3 years. Once they go through this, the companies apply for an IND, which stands for Investigational New Drug. This is something they must file and not have rejected by the FDA in order to continue with testing. So we went from every 5 to 10,000, 250 went towards preclinical. Once there and gone through the IND process, 20 made it to human testing. Right? So every 5 to 10,000 compounds, only 20 make it down to human testing. There's 3 stages of human testing. Stage 1, Stage 2, and Stage 3. Stage 1 is testing it on a small number of healthy patients. So in Stage 1, you're trying to test the safety, the dosage, from a patient standpoint, or from an individual standpoint, probably not the most desirable job to have. Because if you think about it, you're having something put in your system, and at Stage 1, they have no idea how it's going to truly affect humans. So that's why they go with just people who are healthy, they're trying to test the safety, and probably not the best job to have, but once it gets through there, it goes on to Step 2, which it's tested on the group that is trying to help. So if it's cancer medication, it's tested on cancer patients. Multiple sclerosis medication, people with MS. Okay? So this goes towards that actual group that they're trying to help. Stage 3 is to test the claims of the drug. And so, if you ever heard the placebo effect, they don't want people to say they feel better because they think they are, just because they got the drug. And so, what they do is they do a randomized trial of people who both have they go to the people who have the disease or whatever they're trying to cure, and they give parts of that group the drug, other parts they don't. And so they compare how the two groups do to see if the group with the drug had better outcomes than the group without. So this is to really test the claims that the drug is saying it's going to do. So by this point, we're down to 9 out of every 5 to 10,000. Once they're confident with their results, they submit to the FDA a new drug application. This NDA, it takes about 30 months on average for the FDA to approve. And about out of every 5 drugs that file an IND, investigation of a new drug, actually file an NDA. It takes about, so once it goes through, they say it's fine, okay, then once they get the approval, then they can launch the new drug. So we went from 5 to 10,000 new compounds all the way down to 1. So this is why it can take about 10 years on average from the first dollar being spent on a drug to that drug actually being produced or introduced. And that's also why the money can range anywhere from, well, here it's 100 million to 1.5 billion. Okay. It's a long process. There's a lot of money involved. And because of this, a lot of times there can be mergers that take place just to acquire these patents. Because maybe a pharmaceutical company started doing it, they don't have the time, the resources to follow it all the way through, so they merge with another that has the finances to do it. Maybe they're backed up by revenue from other drugs a little bit better, and so it helps to allow this to happen, the drugs to come on the market. And with all this, when we really look at it step by step, it's a long process. It's a costly one. And so when I noted that the patent was 20 years, well, the patents are necessary. So people may say, okay, well, why not, drug costs are very high. Why not just let them go? Why not just, let the patents go away? That way there's more competition. Well, the problem is eliminating the patents would eliminate competition in the aspect that if a company can go and they can spend hundreds of $millions developing a new drug, have it hit the market, then have somebody just take it, copy, and put it out for almost no cost, okay, and then compete with them, well, the pharmaceutical company that put those hundreds of $millions in may not necessarily recoup that money. So it becomes difficult to have development of the drugs without the patent. You need to give those companies the incentive to recoup that money plus more in order to have them develop it. So in that aspect, the patents are good for developing the drugs. Because again, without it, you have to give them the incentive to do it. And so it really allows the market to evolve and the new drugs to get formed.